Do you remember the 2002 Spider-Man movie directed by Sam Raimi? There's a scene where the Green Goblin holds Mary Jane hostage on one side and a tram car full of children on the other side of the bridge. He forces Peter to choose whom he wants to save before dropping Mary Jane and the children. Ultimately, he saves both, but what if he didn't? Would the children have perished? Or the person he loved most? Would the loss of one make you less of a hero? What if you were wearing the red and blue suit? What would you do? What is the correct choice? Choose, because you're running out of time. We are constantly faced with decisions, some harder than others, but we learn through experience and guidance. Sometimes the experience includes hardships, suffering, pain, where we are truly in the face of evil. We ask ourselves, why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? To approach this, people have considered theodicies. A theodicy is an attempt to resolve the question of evil with the existence of God. The basic question it tries to answer is, if there's such a thing as an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good God, why does evil exist? For several years, ideas brought forth by monotheistic religions have led to critics saying religious beliefs are contradictory, inaccessible, and simply not true. We all have different points of view of the concept of evil, and the point is to find one that satisfies you.
Something wrong.
I can't do what you want. I'm a Christian.
If you cannot bring yourself to admit that God is dead, you will need to defend the antithesis.
The problem of evil is mainly challenged by Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. Their approach to it does not have a solid answer such as Buddhism and Hinduism, blaming it on an individual's karma. There is a deeper meaning to why we suffer at the face of evil, and that it's not only for punishment. A good example is in the book of Job from the Old Testament of the Bible. Job was said to be a blameless and upright man who was careful to do no evil. He was wealthy and living a satisfying life. One day, Satan appears before God in heaven and boasts how if he would have made Job's life miserable, Job would not praise him as he did now. God disagreed and allowed Satan to torture and test Job. Job lost literally everything. He was confused as to why he was treated like this now and not before. However, his faith in God ultimately granted him even more blessings than before, after the torment was over. In this story, God had complete trust in Job to ignore any allegation against him. Job was strong enough to hold on to his faith even when it seemed hopeless, because it was only with God which he had so much, and to abandon him now would gain him nothing. An excellent example and role model for many Christians looking for strength to overcome their struggles. But we want to understand, what are the solutions? Well, we're first told that evil is only temporary. It's like saying a storm will not last forever and the oceans eventually calm down. We are then told we don't have the capacity to understand God's actions, and that it is all part of a greater plan. If so, why did this happen to me and not to someone else? Well, let's just say it did happen to someone else. We are now looking back to that situation with Spider-Man. Someone or a group of people we don't know versus a loved one. Who did you choose to save? Are you considered evil for choosing a loved one over someone else? No, you are considered human. Remember, evil is whenever we act to cause intentional harm. The best answer would be to try to save both. Good job, Spider-Man. It may not seem possible to save everyone, and it may ultimately end unexpectedly. But when there's something you regret, we must learn to accept the evil fate that has been set upon us or whoever had perished. That's another solution, the acceptance that evil must exist in order for there to be good. Considering the lack of completeness one would have without the other, leads to a frequent argument that is brought forth with the idea of free will. God did not create evil. The Bible gives explanations from where it did originate and the consequences it led to. God granted human beings free will, and with that comes the choice of destruction, and evil we humans have the power to make happen. This solution, if accepted, only covers the evil caused by humans. We have so far been covering moral evil, but what about natural evil, or situations we have no control over? I'm talking about natural disasters, illnesses, or unpredictable accidents. It is at these situations where people have no one else to blame but God, and it's where they truly lose faith and hope, or notice they never had it to begin with. Accepting destructive occurrences in our life is something so difficult to do. Ask anyone who has experienced loss or has felt alone. The only solution is that we just have to be willing to act against this form of evil. It's like this. Imagine there's this flower on the side of the road. It doesn't rain for months and everything on the side of the road was dying. The flower notices that the sprinklers came on, but only on the other side of the road. All the other flowers on the dry side gave up and died, but with its last free will, the flower rose from the ground and walked across the long and extremely hot road. Just before it could make it to the other side, it collapsed and died, leaving its seeds behind in the wet soil so new flowers would grow. This little tale may not seem possible, but that's the point. The solution usually isn't possible until we see that it is achievable. Don't give up. In the end, people find a theodicy that satisfies their point of view, while others deny the existence of a God worth worshipping for the very existence of evil. We can't eliminate it, as my fellow philosophers used to say. Leibniz, Locke, St. Augustine, and Heraclitus, which all believed evil is still quite necessary in our lives. Wherever you may end up, our goal is to avoid evil and continue living our balanced lives of dark and light. No matter how good we are, everyone will experience temptations. Just look at Job, or any hero from legends and epics throughout time. Appreciate the good now, and work for the good to come.